You sit down at the end of the day and your whole body sinks like it has been carrying something heavy. But you didn't run anywhere. You didn't lift anything heavier than a laptop. You sat in a chair, you tapped a keyboard, you answered some messages, you looked at a few screens. On paper, you did almost nothing. So why do you feel like this? It feels normal, of course. Everyone's tired. Being tired is practically the background noise of being an adult now. You assume it's the bad sleep, or the coffee wearing off, or just your age quietly catching up with you. But here's the strange part. The tiredness doesn't match the effort. You can spend an entire day physically resting and still feel scraped hollow by 9 at night. You can sleep a full 8 hours and wake up feeling like you never closed your eyes. That's the first clue that something else is going on. Because the exhaustion you're feeling isn't really coming from your muscles, it's coming from somewhere you can't see. Let me show you where. For almost all of human history, being tired meant one simple thing. Your body had done work. You walked, you carried, you built, and your muscles slowly emptied out. Then you rested, and they refilled. Tired was physical. Tired was visible. Tired made sense. The tiredness most people carry today is not like that at all. It doesn't live in your arms or your legs, it lives in your attention. And attention is a resource almost nobody thinks to measure, right up until the moment it runs out. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you did exactly one thing? Just one. No second screen, no half-checked phone, no thought about the next task waiting behind this one. If you have to think hard to remember, that's not a personal failing. It's the whole point. Because here is what's quietly draining you. It isn't the work, it's the switching. There's a researcher named Sophie Leroy, a professor at the University of Minnesota, who gave this invisible thing a name. She called it attention residue. The idea is simple, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. When you switch from one task to another, a part of your mind doesn't come with you. It stays behind, still stuck on the thing you just left. You've moved on, but a piece of your attention is still back there, quietly running. Think of it like leaving a room but forgetting to turn the light off. You're gone, but energy is still burning in a place you're no longer standing. You felt this exact thing, even if you never had a word for it. Picture it. You're deep in something that actually matters. A single message arrives. You read it in 2 seconds. You deal with it. You go back to work. The interruption was tiny. It cost you almost no time at all. And yet, for the next 10 minutes, you can't quite think straight. Your focus feels smeared, like a wet page. That fog isn't in your imagination. That's the residue. A part of your mind is still standing in the last room, and it refuses to follow you back. Now here's why this matters so much more today than it did 20 years ago. Leroy studied people jumping between projects at work. But you don't switch a few times a day anymore. You switch constantly. A message, a notification, a quick glance at a feed, an email that pulls you halfway out of the thing you were doing and never quite lets you fully back in. Every one of those switches leaves a light on. And by the end of the day, you're not living in one room with one light. You're standing in a house where every single light is still burning, all at once, and you can't figure out why the bill is so high. More than 50 years ago, a Nobel Prize-winning thinker named Herbert Simon saw this coming. He wrote a single sentence that gets truer every year. A wealth of information, he said, creates a poverty of attention. He understood, back before the internet even existed, that the real cost of endless information wouldn't be the information. It would be what all that information does to the mind trying to hold it. So what's actually happening inside your head when you feel this kind of tired? Picture your attention as a browser with tabs open. One tab is the work in front of you. But there's a tab for that unread message. A tab for the thing your boss said this morning. A tab for the news you scrolled past. A tab for the argument you didn't finish. A tab for the bill you keep meaning to pay. You think you closed those tabs. You didn't. They're just minimized. And every minimized tab is still using power, still running quietly in the background, still draining the battery you're trying to spend on the one thing in front of you. That's why you can sit still all day and feel wrecked. Physically, you did nothing. But your mind never once got down to a single open tab. It ran 40 of them all day without a break. And it costs more than just energy. There's a concept from a neuroscientist named Bruce McEwen, who spent his career at Rockefeller University studying stress. He called it allostatic load. In plain terms, it's the wear and tear your body takes on from being switched on for too long without ever fully powering down. Not one giant stressful event, but 1,000 tiny ones that never quite resolve. Each small ping of alertness is harmless on its own. Stacked, day after day, they quietly grind you down. Your body starts treating a normal Tuesday like a low, constant emergency. And your body can't tell the difference between the emergencies. A real threat and a buzzing phone both pull the same lever. Your ancestors felt that surge maybe a handful of times a week when something genuinely dangerous appeared. You feel a smaller version of it a few hundred times a day, every time a screen lights up and demands that you look. The switch was designed to save your life in rare moments. Now, it never gets to switch back. And this is where it gets genuinely backwards. You already know you're tired, so at the end of the day, you do the sensible thing. You rest. You collapse onto the couch, you pick up your phone, and you start to scroll. You tell yourself this is recovery. This is you finally switching off. But scrolling isn't switching off. Scrolling is switching, faster than ever. A new face, a new clip, a new opinion, a new outrage, every second or two. To your attention, that couch time isn't rest, it's overtime. You are opening hundreds of new tabs and calling it relaxation. So the rest you think you're getting isn't rest at all. And that explains the thing that never made sense before. Why you can lie down for 3 hours and get up feeling worse. You weren't refilling the battery. You had it plugged into 100 small drains the entire time. The American Psychological Association has been tracking this for years in its national stress surveys, and the pattern doesn't move. People report feeling drained and on edge, not because of one huge crisis, but because of a low hum of constant demand that never switches off. It's not the mountain. It's the 10,000 pebbles you never put down. There's an older idea here, too, from the psychologist Roy Baumeister, who popularized the term decision fatigue. The claim is that every small choice you make spends a little of a shared mental reserve. Now, to be honest, the strongest version of that theory has been challenged by later research, and the effect is probably gentler than the early headlines suggested. But the everyday truth of it holds. A day made of 1,000 micro-decisions, most of them triggered by a screen, leaves you strangely worn out, even when not one of those decisions actually mattered. So step back and look at your own ordinary day for a second. You wake up and reach for your phone before your eyes are even open. Tab. You check messages while you brush your teeth. Tab. You work with your inbox open in the corner, twitching every few minutes. Tab, tab, tab. You eat lunch watching something. You rest by scrolling. You fall asleep with your mind still flickering through the day's leftover fragments. At no point did you ever get down to one open tab. Not once. Your body sat still all day, and your attention ran a marathon it never chose to enter. That's the real reason you're always tired. Not because you did too much, because you never fully stopped. The fatigue isn't the price of your effort. It's the price of a mind that is always half somewhere else. And notice what that quietly means. Rest was never the absence of work. Rest is the absence of switching. It's the rare, almost forgotten feeling of your attention being in exactly one place, with every other tab genuinely closed. Not distracted, not minimized. Closed. You don't need more hours of sleep to fix this, though they help. You don't need another vacation you'll spend photographing instead of living. You need something much simpler and much harder. You need to let your mind finish one thing before it starts the next. You need to leave a room and actually turn off the light. You won't always manage it. The whole world is built to keep those tabs open because your scattered attention is worth money to someone. But now you can feel the difference. You can tell the moments when you're truly resting from the moments when you're just switching in a more comfortable chair. So the next time you sink down at the end of a day, heavy, hollowed out, sure that you did nothing to deserve this exhaustion, you'll finally understand what you were carrying all along. It was never nothing. It was every light you forgot to turn off.